Again, I'm Roxanne Martinez, the newest school board trustee for Fort Worth ISD. I think I'm officially maybe 3 months on the job. It's been an interesting first 3 months. But within those 3 months, actually at the August 10th school board meeting, the board did vote for a resolution on a $1.49 billion bond election. On your tables, we passed out both English and Spanish brochures about the bond. I'm going to give a very high-level overview today, but what I really want to do is encourage you to attend one of the upcoming information sessions where we will dive deep into this presentation here. And so, what does the bond cover? It's actually 4 propositions, and if you just take a look at the back, they'll have 4. It's A, B, C, and D. The bulk of it, the bulk of that 1.49 billion will be Proposition A. That's going to cover construction, renovation, and upgrades to our middle schools. And then also construction of a new elementary school. For those of you, I am a product of Fort Worth ISD, Meacham Middle School actually. One thing that I want to emphasize is the need for renovations and upgrades at our middle schools. Many of the middle schools that I've been visiting, just in my first 3 months, I've visited middle schools in my district and have seen the needs there. Meacham Middle School, for example, looks pretty much exactly the same as it did 25 to 30 years ago when I was there. And why is that an issue? Well, we're always talking about student achievement and outcomes. Yet we haven't ensured that our facilities and classrooms provide every opportunity for students to achieve. I have 2 5th graders in Fort Worth ISD, and they tell me, Mom, the way you do math is the old way. They also tell me that Pluto's no longer a planet. So what I'm saying is that math has changed, science has changed, the way we teach and the way our kids learn, that's all changed over the last 20 to 30 years. But yet our facilities and our classrooms have not kept up to date. So again, the big Proposition A is the largest portion of this bond. It's going to go to the renovations of our middle schools. If you open to the inside, it'll give you just a brief overview of what does that include. What do the major renovations include? Upgrades to common areas like cafeterias. Cafeterias has been a big one, a big issue that I've heard about, considering that we're in a pandemic with COVID. Expansion of cafeterias, making them just more open for different meetings and common areas. Also, remodeled media centers, science labs. Science labs is a huge one. If you haven't had an opportunity to visit or see some of the renovations that we've made recently to our high schools, you know, our last major bond project was in 2017, and that upgraded or provided upgrades and renovations to a lot of our high schools. And if you haven't had opportunity to visit, I know because of COVID there's limited visitation, but you can visit the Fort Worth ISD YouTube channel and take a look at some of those renovations, especially the science labs and the new collaboration centers. We're wanting to make sure that our middle schools have the same resources. So, remodeled media centers, new science labs, modified classrooms, also just life cycle improvements, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and then also so we can finally get rid of some of those portable buildings that are deteriorating and falling apart. So you'll see a list on the inside first page, major renovations to middle schools is Proposition A. And there's a list there. Again, encourage you to attend an upcoming information session where you can learn a lot more. There's 3 other propositions. Proposition B, C, and D. So B would cover or be allocated for the construction, renovations, and upgrades for fine arts facility. That includes all of our auditoriums. If you did get a chance to attend any of our events or productions in our schools before COVID, you probably sat in the auditorium in that hardwood chair that has been there for the last 30, 40 years. And you know, a lot of our auditoriums don't have the AV and media needs to meet our current times. So that would upgrade fine arts facilities auditoriums. Proposition C would provide for construction, acquisition, and equipment of new stadiums in the district. You'll also see a breakdown of the proposed construction of 3 new stadiums. Part of that would be to provide more accessible access to athletic facilities. Right now, as you currently know, we have Farrington Field, Clark Stadium, and Henley Field. Think about where all of those are located and how accessible they are to our entire community. A lot of times, for example, I ran the booster at Diamond Hill Drive High School for a long time, and we were always sent to Clark Stadium, to Clark or Henley to play our games. Imagine how hard that is for parents to get there, to get to those stadiums. And a lot of those stadiums are also deteriorating, need upgrades, and some of them are just too costly to repair. So Proposition C is for new athletic facilities. And then D is athletic improvements. That's going to include our middle school gyms, our middle school facilities, new turf for 14 high school baseball, softball fields, and then upgrades to existing fields and resurfacing of football fields. One of the exciting things I remember for Fort ISD was when we first turfed the football fields, and at least brought us up to the standards of a lot of the surrounding districts around us. We compete for students in Fort Worth with other suburban districts, outlying districts, and so these are things that are needed very much to keep students here in Fort Worth ISD. So again, I want to encourage you. Let me see. Actually, the first info session starts next week. There's one on September 22nd at Diamond Hill Drive High School, and there's one coming up in October at Northside High School. We have several of them listed on our website. You can go to fortworthisd.org/bond and find a list of all those. But I really highly encourage you to attend one of those sessions where we're actually going to go in depth into the propositions. And so what does the bond election mean? It means that you, the taxpayer and resident of Fort Worth, will have an opportunity to vote on these 4 propositions. Early voting starts October 18th, runs through October 29th, and then the election day is November 2nd. So again, I want to encourage you to get informed on the bond. If you have any questions specifically about what I've seen at the middle school level, the campuses I've visited, please come talk to me. But really, this is, just like the bond says, commitment to our classrooms. Getting the facilities upgraded to where our students can have every resource they need to achieve. So that's all I have. This is, like I said, a really high overview, but I'll be at the information sessions, and I'll be available for a little bit for questions. If you have any specific questions?
Yes, I'm all for improving. I'm under Espino, long-time teacher, Fort ISD product, science graduated from Fort ISD. So yes, I recognize that there's a need to do all this, but I have 2 questions. What safeguards do we have that we're not going to have any taxpayer waste, things going over budget or embezzlement or what have you? And second of all, we also have COVID funds for each school. Can you give us an update as to how that money is being spent?
Yes. So 2 great questions. So thank you. One thing I want to say also that I failed to mention is that these propositions will not result in a tax rate increase. That's 1. 2, I'm glad that you mentioned also just the oversight of it. There is a citizens oversight committee that does oversee the capital improvement projects, and so those are it's inclusive of members of the community, and so there's a group there that actually oversees and keeps track of that. So that's one way that we do that. Let's see. Secondly, you asked about the COVID funds. So we do have ESSER funds. Those are grant funds, federal grant funds that we receive to address COVID. They are limited in what we can use them for. They are specifically for things that around health and safety for COVID. They are limited also to 3 years. So there's funds that are only available for 3 years. So we actually just gave a presentation a couple of meetings ago about what they're being used for. So some of them is ventilation in schools. Some of it is for There's also been an increase in the mental health needs of our students, so hiring more counselors, more programs and more resources, especially around mental health. Trying to think of some of the other things that were included. There's some programs. There's it's pretty inclusive of lots of programs, resources, staffing needs, and so I'll be happy to share that presentation with you all. But yeah, it's a pretty lengthy one, but it does cover everything.
Roxanne, thank you for the information. It is very important matter to bring up for like Steve's on. And it's important that everyone get involved and give you input. What would you recommend in terms of how residents can give input?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can give input. We understand and know that currently with COVID, some people may not feel comfortable attending one of the information sessions, but we do have a website and a tool where you can give feedback. There's a tool on the website called Let's Talk. You're welcome to send feedback there. You're welcome to send feedback through your representative, through your school board representative. You can email those in. Like I said, our website, you can leave comments, feedback, input. And then if you're able to, please attend the information sessions. We will be observing COVID protocols, social distancing, and masks at these events. But if you're able to attend, that's the best way to give your input. Like I said, as well as writing it in, sending it in.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Will it cause our property taxes to go up at all? I mean, is there any kind of...
So the propositions themselves will not result in a tax rate increase. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any information about how the last bond, how much of that money went to minority-owned businesses?
Oh, that's a good question. That would be one that I have to find out specifically. But yeah, we actually have a 2017 bond page that's dedicated to the projects. I'm not sure if that answer is specifically on there, but I can find out for you.
It doesn't? Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And if it's also, only for your information sessions, because I'd like to attend one, they can also have it broken out by ethnicity, so like Hispanic, Black, and Latino.
Yeah, I can definitely pass that back to staff, and we can have that information available when we start rolling out. The first information session is September 16th, and they're held several times a week throughout the district.
I do have a question. One question that I have is on procurement side. I know that most governmental entities have a percent that should go to minority-owned companies, but we also know, like they say, in this country we're all supposed to be created equal, but we know that some are more equal than others. And so also when it comes to doing business, our minority community, Hispanic-owned companies, construction companies, should be considered for these. And I think before this bond passes, there ought to be some commitments on the part of the entity that they are going to go out and find construction companies that can get not only to be, I'm talking about prime, that they can handle a big project, not just some of these small and sort of stuff, and they actually hire you and you're bajo las costillas de una compañía internacional or nacional. So I think that is one. Number two, that before you leave, because you have to go in 5 minutes, the other one is redistricting. You know, redistricting is upon us right now. The census report is in. All the units of government are going to have to redistrict. Primo, Flores. And so you need to see whether you are entitled to another city council seat or more, at the school district likewise, at the county likewise, and at the state representative likewise. Those lines are going to be drawn. You guys need to be giving your opinions about what you want. Si no lo hacen ustedes, nobody will do it for you, believe me.
Right, yes, thank you so much. And just to speak to that, we also have formed our committee. Please stay engaged, ask questions. I'm always accessible, send me an email. I'll get you if I don't know the answer, I'll get you the answers. But be engaged because there's a lot going on right now. Thank you.
Roxanne, before you leave, just to clarify what Hector was saying, I've been on several committees in my lifetime, but lately with the school district. Y'all have a program in place for minority and women-owned businesses. And currently, with the current bond, I think someone asked about the current bond, it's over 45% of the business construction, whatever, is going to minority and women-owned businesses. But we can can do more.
Yes, yeah.
Because, you know, if you look at the ethnicity of City of Fort Worth School District, 90% are kids of color, so we ought to be shooting for 90%.
Yeah, great comment. And then Ned, I'll get that response to you, and then we'll also make sure that I can share it publicly in that information.
Hi, Roxanne. I did want to know, for the informational sessions, when those go out, I do agree, it's absolutely important we include women and minority-owned businesses in there, but one of the things that makes it even less competitive for those same companies to do business at that level is the fact that they have to cut back on labor wages. And we all know that the majority of the people who do those jobs are actually within our community. And I'd like to make sure that, you know, there is additional attention paid to how much do they actually pay those workers, because that money that is our money already should be staying in our local economy and not transported out because it's a big conglomerate corporation that is actually in New York, California, or up north somewhere. So if you wouldn't mind, please try to include that information to see how much do their workers actually make compared to the competitive marketplace.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those comments and feedback. I'll make sure that I'm going to take this back to our staff, and that when we start rolling out these information sessions, that we'll have all of these topics be available answers to all of these questions.
One other comment, and I'm gonna shut it down.
Yes, to go.
And I know you're just starting, so you know you can't be knowledgeable on every topic. The school system is a big entity, okay? I mean, the superintendent has hundreds of people to advise him on everything, and sometimes they don't give you all the information, you can't digest it. One thing that I have found that they do in big districts, they actually have like a bonding or construction academy, where a small business owner or mid-sized owners can go and learn how to contract with the school districts, which I think is one way to learn. If you can't get it at the Senate chamber or some of these activities, you could conceivably, that would be an idea that you could do, so you can attract those minority-owned companies, show them what they have to do and where they have to be at to be able to compete, would be my idea.
Yeah, sounds like a great collaboration there. And I'm sorry, I do have to run up. I have a big COVID vaccination event that I'm co-hosting today. Councilman Carlos Flores is going to share more information about it later, but it's an all-day event. If you know anyone in need of a COVID vaccine today, we are doing them at Trail Drivers Park all day, 10 to 4. So, thank you.
Thank you so very much. That's it. Okay, our second speaker is Dr. Florencio Aranda from TCU. He's been working the diversity game for a long time, and so you all have a heck of a star. He's a Red Raider originally, and I'm assuming, were you born in Mexico or the U.S.?
No, on the frontera.
Frontera.
Yeah.
Okay, adelante, let's hear it for Dr. Aranda. And you can take all your time.
Oh, thank you so much. Hello everyone, buenos días. Soy el Dr. Florencio Urias Aranda III, and I tell people it's a beautiful hot mess of a name, so most folks know me as Dr. Flo. I am here on behalf of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at Texas Christian University, and I serve as a coordinator of diversity and inclusion initiatives. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we do. So in our office, we focus on DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So diversity is just a broad range of perspectives, backgrounds, ideologies, that type of thing. What we do is we also cater to the protected classes. So veterans, immigrant, minorities, etc., the list goes on. What we also do is we focus on the E, which is the equity piece. Now, a lot of the offices have moved from equality to equity. So look, the way that I make people kind of get an understanding about equality versus equity is equality, todos aquí les vamos a dar menudo. So now everybody equally has menudo, but we're not taking into account dietary restrictions, whether you like it, whether you want it spicy, hot,
bit.
cold,
I didn't see it
whether
there
you
either.
want some
And I don't know
pozole
where
in there,
it fell.
or prefer pozole or not, you know. So
I know, I
that's
had
the
it on me.
equality
It was-
piece. Everyone gets it. The
I had it,
equity
I don't know
is
if it
where
fell
we
before it got
focus
to
on
the car
the
or after.
individual needs so that we can get a better understanding of how to serve the individual. So now going back to that menudo metaphor, so now we'll say, okay, sir, Councilman Flores, he doesn't prefer menudo, okay, or he prefers menudo with more hominy, right? Or menudo con más panza, ¿verdad? And so that's the idea, that with the equity piece is where we look at the individual, assess the situation, and then serve them to the best of our ability. Now, the inclusion piece. That piece is what we all strive to do. Can TCU and other institutions get there? Sure, right? So we have a lot of diversity within TCU, but more can be done. And so that's the piece that we focus on. One of the things that we're focusing on for that inclusion piece is that our office has been very supportive of bringing out the visibility of Latinos on our campus for our faculty and our staff and our students. So our office is focusing on providing resources, funding, programming, events, workshops, facilitation to aid our faculty and staff so that they can be the best representation of themselves in the classroom. For our students, we put on an array of programs, provide them with funding and resources, and we point them into the right offices so that they can get, you know, as much assistance and support throughout their academic journey. A lot of the people in our office are first gen, are minorities, are those individuals who have gone through the process, have similar, if not same backgrounds, and know the experiences, know the trajectory of higher ed, and use those lived experiences to provide that support for our staff. One of the things that our office is doing, so that I can switch over, is that we're very supportive of the Texas Association of Chicanos in Higher Education. That organization, I'm very blessed and fortunate to serve as the president-elect, and next year I'll assume the presidency. So, yes, thank you. Tache has been absolutely and extremely influential in my professional and personal life. I tell people that Tache is the mecca of Latino success in higher education in Texas. Yes. At Tache, we have lawyers, we have administrators, practitioners, scholars, individuals from all backgrounds that are striving for and that want nothing more but success for the Latino community. And this year, the reason why I'm here and the reason why I wanted to mention Tache is because this year, the state conference is here in Fort Worth. Yes, so in February 2022, so I said this year, but really it's this academic year. So in February 2022, February 26th through March 2nd, we have our state conference. It's going to be hosted in the Fort Worth Hilton. However, every part of this conference will focus on highlighting, showcasing, and recognizing the beauty, the Latino beauty of Fort Worth. So we're going to showcase North Fort Worth, South Fort Worth, multiple areas of Fort Worth, Artes de la Rosa. We actually have a welcome from our very own Councilman Flores. Thank you for agreeing to do that. We have a poet laureate that's going to come share his written works on Latinidad. We have speakers from all over Texas. We also have a partnership with Excelencia en Educación. in higher education. And so Excelencia's representatives will be here to talk to us about the Seal of Excelencia, which is the national recognition for institutions that are doing more for Latinos, as well as the examples of excelencia. I'm not speaking on their behalf, I'm simply speaking about the partnership that we have. This year's conference theme is called Seguimos Floreciendo, Cultivating Resilient and Responsible Leadership through Latinx Awareness, Action, and Advocacy. So we have the social, emotional, and cultural aspect of the conference, but then we also focus on the academic piece. Scholars and practitioners from the state of Texas, from our member institutions, will have the opportunity to come share their research, and we have over 50 spots of academic research being shared. And there's members here today that are part of TACHE. Our organization is comprised of a state board. Our current president is Dr. Mayra Olivares Urueta, and she is a professor at TCU. And formerly, she was the vice president for student success at Tarrant County College Northeast Campus. On behalf of the state board, we want to welcome you and encourage you to join our conference. If you want to partner with us to showcase more aspects of Fort Worth, please get in contact with me. And that also goes for TCU. If there's anything that you want to do with TCU, or that you want the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to look at and consider and possibly sponsor, please reach out to me. Lastly, I'll share very quickly a little bit about myself. I'm from La Frontera, Presidio, Texas, and Ojinaga, Chihuahua, Mexico. I'm bilingual, bicultural, bilateral. Everything that I do is for la comunidad. And once I left Presidio, I matriculated at Texas Tech University, where I did a bachelor's, 2 masters, and my PhD. And when I was there, and as I was going through my doctorate, I realized that I was one of the only people, one of the only Latino males in my doctoral program. And one would think that knowing that you're the only one, you would think like, heck yeah, I got this, I'm the best, right? But on the contrary, it made me really reflect on what I had done, what opportunities I had been afforded to be in that position, and then it made me realize that at that point, that education that I was seeking was no longer mine, but rather the people, the community that I wanted to serve. And so while my names are on those degrees, I vowed then and there that once I finished that doctorate, that I would do everything in my power to work within higher ed to advance Latinos in higher education. And so I've been very fortunate to be able to do that through diversity, equity, and inclusion, and now through the presidency with TACHE. With that, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity. I open it up for Q&A, and again, thanks so much for allowing me to speak to you this morning.
Again, Manuel Espino, longtime educator, resident of Fort Worth. Brother, graduate from Texas Christian University. I guess my big concern about TCU is that it's a good school, it's a hometown school, but short of being a community scholar, it's very inaccessible to our minority students or students of color. I mean, with everything there, it's about what, $50,000, $60,000 even more without minimum wage income, or $50,000 for a commuter. And what we don't want is for our kids to have these crazy student loans to go there. And so my son applied, he got a decent package, but we just didn't feel comfortable taking out all the student loans. He didn't get a community scholar, which surprisingly, there were like 8% of kids that got it from Dunbar and only one from Poly. So I'm kind of wondering how that works, but back to the availability of students, my question is, what percentage of your enrollment is Hispanic, African American? And we broke it down without athletic scholarships, because it's our hometown school, we should have more people go there, and represent Boritos. I mean, we have a graduate over there, South Carrillo. Did you have to take out student loans?
Yes.
Okay, we're trying to make it more accessible, so what are y'all doing for that? I know you're there with diversity and inclusion, but I wanna know how we are included at this point and what we're doing to get them more without our kids having to take out that burden of loans. I mean, they even wanted me to take out loans. You know, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I will add two things. The very first one, this is my 9th month at Texas Christian University, so I have a lot to learn, and I admit that, and I'm very transparent. What I do know is that there are opportunities out there aside from the community scholars that it's just a matter of getting in contact with the admissions office. They can break that down for you. I don't know the actual breakdown of the minority students, but I do know that 69% are Anglo-American. So the 30% is that minority student / international student. And so what we're striving to do now through our office is just bring visibility to those 30% and find ways to provide them the resources that are there. Another thing that I've personally been doing is I've been working with the TCU Advising Corps to kind of aid them in strategies on how to best serve the students, because the advisors are out in the schools. And so one of the things that we've been doing is talking to a lot of those minority advisors on how to help those minority students so that they can be applied to those schools. I can't speak about the funding because that's not my area, but I know that we're striving to do more. And hence why I'm here today, so that if there's any type of partnership or collaboration that can be done through the community, through Fort Worth ISD, through other avenues, with our office, let's do it. And you know, that's one thing that we want to do is bring more students and show them that TCU is accessible even before they have to apply to TCU.
Dr. Aranda. Yes. Mr. Espino. One suggestion I have is maybe from this group here, a committee be composed of about 3 or 4 people, not too many. Set up a meeting with the president. They have discretionary funds that they get and endowment. And so you could direct them at some kind of a recruitment program that is tied into the Center Community College District as well as the high schools. And then what you want to do is be able to prepare them, because look, they're going to throw a bunch of tests at them and everything else. You got to have them prepared so when the opportunity comes, they're able to, pass all these damn interviews and all, you got to prepare all these applications and all that kind of stuff. But I think also some of the things that I've learned is that, like on Saturdays, you could be preparing these kids that want to get into a program, could be funded by the university itself, and also be held there at the university so they can think, I can go to this school versus going to Tarrant Community College. I think there's ideas there, but you yourself, since you've expressed that idea, perhaps maybe we can come up with a committee, and Alex can get us a meeting with the president. Maybe Carlos Flores can get us a meeting with the president and lay it out on him and say, what are you doing and what plans do you have to increase these numbers? We want to go to college there too. Go ahead. Eva.
Thank you. Eva Bonilla, and I'm a mother of 2 graduates, and my husband graduated from TCU. But I co-authored this program called Latinas in Progress back in 2006. And we've been receiving a full ride as a community scholar for our outstanding Latinas. We only get 1. I think we need to work on getting another, because we really do a great job, we do a great job at, all of our students graduate with 3.75 or 3.5 and up that are Hispanic Women's Network candidates from our LID program. At the same time, when we negotiated with TCU to get these in the late 90s, we also negotiated to get one for Fort Worth ISD. So Fort Worth ISD only gets 1 that I know of. If they're getting 2, we want the 2. Anyway, but we are a great representation of the community. And so we can probably work with each other, maybe to go to the president and get another one, if that's okay.
But Eva, you will agree that the community also has to clamor about the problem. If you don't do it, he can't do his job.
I know.
We have to come from here and say, you need to expand your budget to include this in your budget, or from your discretionary funds, or from the endowment. Look, Latinos and Mexican Americans in particular, we're the labor force in Texas. Nobody else is.
And now we're
We are.
37%
But now we want them to be the owners of all these companies and be the professionals in these companies. We got to be thinking like that. We don't get them out of high school into college and into professional life. We're never going to do it. How many generations has it taken to get us educated? As an example. Go ahead.
Also, the Hispanic alumni, like are they active? You know, they made it through, they're very proud of their school. I think starting with folks that are already a part of the community. I know Texas Tech, UT Austin has a huge Hispanic alumni organization that fundraises and does scholarships themselves. So I think that getting those folks activated that have graduated.
Yes. I know there's an alumni, I think we need to reach out to them.
Hold on, I've got some things right. Stand up so we can hear you, man.
I believe that education.
Thank you.
I believe that education is very important because it's helping that Latinos get smart and knowledge, so we can learn to stand up for each other. Because right now there's a lot of division instead of unity, and we need to unite together as Latinos so we can work together and we can bring more Latinos into the community to be leaders, so they can help us and work together as a family in the community, because we need to work together and we need to get more education, because reading, schooling, and knowledge is very important. It's something that we didn't have back in the day, that now we got the opportunity to be somebody and be all that we can be, so we can stand up and we can fight against racism, against evil, against hatred, against bitterness. So when we unite and we become a family, that's what I say is more important.
Thank you. Alex. I agree with that.
Amen. Congratulations on your PhD. We're very proud. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
It's a great deal. But I think you mentioned that 30% of the student body was minority women. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, 69% of Anglo-Americans, so the other 31%.
Well, I would venture to guess
I
that
could
most
give
of
you
that
100,
30% are football players, basketball players, track players. And one recommendation you might make.
I hate mornings, I hate.
be
No, I hate mornings, I think about so many things. My head starts hurting, I think everything, and it's just.
Is, why don't we, if we have X number of scholarships for athletics for people of color, why don't we max that in academics for people of color? And maybe not go to the top 10% from Diamond Hill or Northside or College, but maybe the 20 to 30%. Yeah, graduate on level, because, you know, there's a lot of people around here that I would guess, that I know some of that didn't graduate the top 10%. But you are doers.
Oh, it's from a store at Galleria.
You know, and I'm just saying that could be, let's think about that.
Yeah,
And we can
it's like
certainly, you know, with the leadership in this room, we can have your back to talk to not only the chancellor, the president of ECU, but board of regents. They're the ones that really could influence. And I'll be glad to visit with some of them. But what would that look like in the university if that match and you had kids from college,
It was by where? My car?
Northside, Diamond Hill, because they're going to be damn good leaders in the world. That man going through. But anyway, we can help them. But
Alex, given your career as a professional, you know that corporate America has an interest on our community getting educated so they can learn. You know that all Fort Worth and Dallas is flourishing, man. You got 1,000 people coming to North Texas every day. Why are they coming here? Opportunity. So we got to take care of our own also and give them that opportunity. But I think corporate America would put some big bucks at TCU if they knew that they were graduating, you know, what the needs are out there, particularly in technology. If we get enough of our young people in technology, they're going to have a very successful professional life. So we need to think like that, and how many we can bring to TCU through all channels that we can. And You know, right now, kids are getting dual credit by going to community college in the high school. You know, their teachers are adjunct professors at the university. So they're speeding and streamlining the process, academic process that you didn't have. You know what I mean? Or I didn't have, and others here. But anyway, I really appreciate all the comments. Any other questions before we? Okay, Sal?
An issue that I remember my college days many years ago was retention. What sort of programs, what sort of events are you doing in order to retain the people that you actually do, in order to keep that? Because it was something that happened a lot where one student just didn't like it. And it's because, frankly, it's an isolated experience. And so you kind of bond with the relate to, but sometimes that's not even enough.
Sure. Yeah, so I wanted to make two comments about the community scholars and the chancellor's money and the alumni association. All of those are separate entities that our office does not necessarily oversee. And so what I can do, at least, is take the information that you have shared, the comments that you have made, back to those entities, and then offer my support and services and saying, hey, I'm willing to continue to have this conversation, put you in contact with individuals here. I just wanted to be clear about that so that those offices and those entities don't think that I'm here speaking on their behalf. But what I did want to share is that there are two offices right now, the Student Engagement and Identity Office, again, not speaking on their behalf, but they're the ones that focus on the student experience. They're the ones that house the community scholars. They're the ones that do those very student-focused programming. So that is one office, and our office, while we work with students and aid them, a lot of our focus is the faculty staff because of the breakdown of our duties and assignment, how it was assigned. And so what we're doing to retain faculty and staff is we provide them with funding opportunities. We have professional development. We have facilitation and workshops that we do. And then we bring professionals from outside the university to do professional development with them. And then we have an array of events throughout the semesters to do that. In terms of what the Office of Diversity and Inclusion has done, is we reach out very early on to our student organizations and student leaders, and we invite them to our office to discuss opportunities that they can get through us, primarily funding opportunities. And so what we've done is we hear them, we hear their input, and then try to implement programming that caters to them based on their feedback. And so that's one thing that we've done. The other office that I mentioned is the one that focuses on the student piece.
But is TCU revenue relying on adjunct professors?
I'm not aware of that, sir. No, sir. I know that we have our faculty and staff, and we primarily just work with the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece. And so what I want to add is that a lot of our training.
So my number and email address in case anybody wants to follow it up.
So my email is florencio.aranda@tcu.edu, and my office number is 817-257-8559. Yeah, and so what we've done through our office is we just provide them with resources. There's a funding app that they can fill out to support their initiatives. We back them up. If there's any conference or things of that sort that they want to attend, we tend to provide them funding to do that. And so those are some of the ways that we engage with the students. And then if there's any programming being done by other offices at the university, then we support financially those initiatives or events that are being put on.
Any other questions? Let me just say one thing about it. Anybody that survived in the Dakotas has had to have a lot of stamina and energy, okay? I don't know if you've ever been up in the Dakotas. I spent time at Wounded Knee, so I'm very familiar with Red Bud and Convict Reservation and all that. I mean, the Black Hills is not the best place to go visit, let me tell you. So, God, man, I'm not hard to stuck with it. But thank you so very much for being with us. Let's hear it. Let's follow up on that. Okay, it's my pleasure this morning, and I know we have some other elected officials besides mi primo Carlos Flores. Is there anybody else that we need to recognize before I keep on going? Any elected official? Any wannabe elected official? Okay, anybody else? And we're going to let them speak as soon as we finish with the agenda, okay? And now it's... Yeah, and I'd like to invite Sal Carrillo. He's our new district director here in Cherry County. Thank you so very much. As was mentioned earlier, Texas Christian University grad.
Yeah, class of '96. I also went to UTA, and unfortunately, life had a way of getting in the way, and I'm just 3 semesters short from my other degree. Yeah, I was recently elected district director, District 21, a few months ago. We're just getting started. We'll have a first executive board meeting this month. So we're looking to get things going, get out of that pandemic shelter-in-place type of thinking, and looking forward to being proactive. We've already been school board meetings. Individual members are advocating for their individuals, specific issues and events that they need to address and take care of. And like I said, we're looking forward to taking a more proactive approach. Like I said, school board meetings. So whatever, anything that comes up that we can address, that we can help, and advocate for the community, especially Latinos, Mexicanos, Chicanos, Hispanics, whatever, Latinx. If we can help and provide assistance in any way, feel free to let me know. Feel free to let any individual know. They can get in contact with me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to ask.
Will you be in charge of this monthly meeting?
No, this is organized by President January.
Things like someone before that take charge of it as well.
Yeah, well, you can open up an office and everything. So,
I'm talking about his law practice, talking about organizing, making sure we have programs that's ongoing, and out around us when it's office. But we can't wait till the Wednesday before the Saturday to get speakers.
That's correct. You're right. I got that correct.
You're a little back before now, I think.
Yeah, well, I was, like I said, I think recently the elected district director, we'll see what we can do in regard to maybe transitioning to a more local
If you just think someone needs to help them organize, not too late, but maybe 2 weeks ahead. And we have an organization set up where great speakers are there.
And these things were implemented prior to me becoming district
I
director.
would think your office would be a good place for that to start.
Yeah, and that's something that we can look into.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
What is LULAC doing here at the local level to get people to get vaccinated, fight the school board and the governor on mask mandates and all these things? Because, we were doing well a little bit, or we dropped our guard, and then boom, we're there. It affects everybody. And right now, the ones that are suffering the most are kids.
Kids are unvaccinated.
Right, and I mean, even the younger ones that can get vaccinated, their parents don't want them to get vaccinated. So I guess that's my number one concern.
Well, that's a complex problem that's going to require all facets of types and solutions in order to get to find an answer for that problem. The biggest thing that I found is misinformation. I mean, just frankly, the things that people believe is just outstanding. And on an individual level, you just push back. Anything that you see, you push back. If someone points out a strange and weird Facebook meme or anything and everything that's just basically false information, you have to push back. And as far as the LULAC as an organization, that's probably the best thing you can do, is push back on that misinformation and work with other organizations in order to make people understand that the vaccine is safe. It is safe. Millions and millions of people have taken it, billions. And that it's in their best interest and in their children's best interest to get it. So it's going to take a group, a community, almost national effort to get this done, unfortunately. What LULAC can do is try to get proactive in saying that vaccines are safe and push back on any disinformation. So, of course, it's a complex problem. It's going to require time and effort. Anything else? Sure. Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed which the district covers. Does it cover Fort Worth and Arlington?
It covers Tarrant County, Powell, Pinter, Parker, Johnson, Somerville, and Hood.
Okay, so that's west.
So, yes.
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
Incidentally, there's a lot of money coming out from the feds to educate everybody on vaccination. But, either a nonprofit or a unit of government can apply for that. Carlos, I don't know if the city of, I'm sure the city of Fort Worth has gotten some of those funds to do the media messaging and all that kind of stuff to make sure that they understand that this is serious business getting vaccinated. And if you don't, you're subject to catching this virus. And the new ones, the variant and new ones that are coming out that we don't know about, that haven't been studied. But I know that there's opportunities for nonprofits to actually apply to do the work that we expect the government should be doing, right? But then, you're right, the community group needs to say something so that people will understand, hey, if tu compadre, tu comadre is listening to you, they're going to go get vaccinated. Especially when one of their family members comes down with it. But anyway, thank you for your work.
Yeah, please.
Incidentally, he's a volunteer, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody pays this guy to do the work that he does.
We're talking about the organization, as you're aware, and to give you an example of what we're doing in Parker County, there's an issue that I'm trying to help with. A woman who's being charged with a crime that she should never have been charged with. And right now, I spoke with the DA last week, and I'm hoping to provide them with more information, provide more context in order to resolve the situation in a favorable light. Basically have it thrown away. It's possible. But the way things are in Parker County is a very strong good old boy system that doesn't want to change. So you just try to do the best that you can do with what you got.
Any other questions? Sal, thanks a lot. Pásame pelo. Quien fuera joven y bello. And now, the best part of the program, we have Eva Bonilla and we have Roberto Barr going to tell us about and then back up is going to be Carlos. He's going to finish and close the meeting.
Who's also going to help me?
Go ahead, Eva.
Buenos días. Yes. So, vamos a celebrar Hispanic Heritage Month starting the 15th. And you know what? I am fourth generation in Fort Worth, 72 years old, and I've never seen such a great event. I mean, all events being planned for this month. I mean, for Hispanic Heritage Month. Anyway, I'm excited. The first thing though, of course, today is 9/11, and I just wanted to tell y'all, and I'll leave some cards at the table that I forgot to do earlier. But Mana de North, Texas is having a fundraiser in honor of 9/11 tonight. It's casino night at Studio 101. We raised money for fellowships for young girls to go to an academy around the nation. We really believe if we get them out of the barrio, some of them haven't even been downtown Fort Worth. It's the first time they get on an airplane and they become global. And all of our girls then graduate, we start them at 11, get into the LIT program for Hispanic Women's Network, and then they graduate from college, and one of them is an attorney now, and one of them is a pediatrician physician. So we have great records, and that's why we need more scholarships from TCU.
One of them is a JPS Board of Trustees.
What?
One of them is a JPS Board of Trustees.
Yes, and one of them is a JPS Board trustee. So we have great success record. Anyway, and as a matter of fact, on September 16th, Bold Women from Girls Inc. is honoring one of our Latinas in the community, Annette Soto Landeros. She did all her amazing work. I want to recognize her. And Fort Worth Report, I hope y'all get this on your email. I did a great story on her. She's my mentor. They said I was her mentor. She's my mentor. Anyway, but with this, I want to call different people to talk about different things. The first thing on September 18th is Café con Leche with Hispanic Women's Network. And so Rosalinda Martinez, if you would please come